You've probably heard of IADs, right? Improvised explosive devices. They were, without a doubt, the signature weapon of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But what you might not know is the story behind the headlines. It's about a very special group of people who go towards the danger, not to disarm the bomb, but to dismantle the entire network that built it. This is the world of weapons intelligence. Chilling, isn't it? I mean, this one sentence, found in an actual enemy training manual from 2006, tells you everything you need to know about the stakes. It created a brand new, critical threat on the battlefield, the person gathering intelligence. Suddenly, the person with the camera wasn't just some photographer. They were important enough to be a primary target. Okay, so before we can even talk about the person with the camera, we have to talk about the teams they worked with on the front lines. EOD, which stands for Explosive Ordnance Disposal. These are the incredibly brave people who walk up to the bomb. They are the undisputed masters of walking into a nightmare and making it safe. Now, into this established, high-stakes world, a new type of specialist gets introduced, the Weapons Intelligence Team, or WIT. Their job wasn't to disarm the bomb, but to do something totally different. And let's just say they weren't exactly welcomed with open arms at first. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You see, while EOD's goal is to render the bomb safe and defeat the device right in front of them, the WIT member is there to analyze that same bomb to help defeat the entire network that built it. Think of it this way. EOD is dealing with the immediate threat. WIT is trying to take down the whole organization behind it. EOD's job is to survive the scene. WIT's job is to exploit the scene for every last drop of intelligence. Two very different missions happening on the same, very small, very dangerous piece of ground. You have to understand, the EOD world is super tight-knit, a real brotherhood forged in extreme danger. So when this new person shows up asking for more time on site, more time in the danger zone to take pictures and collect evidence, well, you can see how that could be seen as a huge liability. The pressure was on for every single WIT member to prove they were a force multiplier, someone who actually made the team better, and not just a hindrance who was getting in the way. So how do you do that? How do you become a force multiplier? How do you get ready to do a super complex job under insane pressure, all while trying to earn the trust of the team whose lives are in your hands? Well, for a WIT member, that work starts the second they get their boots on the ground, long before any calls come in. So, when you first get in country, you've got this critical checklist. First, you inventory your gear. You can't do your job if you don't have your tools. Second, and maybe most importantly, you go talk to the EOD teams. You introduce yourself, you explain what you're there for, and you start building that trust. And third, you get smart. You bury yourself in all the past reports from your area of operations to figure out what the enemy has been up to. And the prep work was also intensely practical, down to the last detail. It meant packing your own personal go bag with all your evidence collection gear. It meant checking and double-checking every single piece of equipment on your vehicle, from the radios to the jammers. This vehicle, the Cougar, it wasn't just a truck. It was your lifeline, your office, your shelter, and you had to know it inside and out. But you know, all that prep, it's just practice. Because the moment that heavy vehicle door opens, everything changes. The real test begins. The world shrinks, and all your training is pitted against threats coming from every direction. The first thing you do, the first thing anyone does when they step out, is conduct 5 and 25s. You look down and scan 5 meters all around your feet for anything suspicious like tripwires or pressure plates. Then you scan 25 meters out, looking for secondary devices. See, the enemy knows you're coming, so they'll often plant a second bomb just to target the responders. This isn't just a good idea, it's a life or death ritual. You do it every single time. And it's not just what's under your feet you have to worry about. This quote, wow, it just brings the psychological stress to life. That constant gnawing feeling of being watched, of being in someone's crosshairs. And remember that enemy manual? The person with the camera, the WIT member, was a top priority target. It's pretty hard to do a detailed forensic analysis when you're thinking about that. And if that wasn't enough, you've got indirect fire, mortars and RPGs. And the truly terrifying thing about them, as the sources point out, is that you often get zero warning. No whistle, no sound, just a sudden whoosh overhead or a massive explosion right next to you. It's a threat you can't see and you can't predict. And then, of course, there's the sheer, raw power you're up against. I mean, look at this. This is the aftermath of a vehicle-borne IED, a car bomb. It's just a constant, brutal reminder of the stakes, and a reminder that surviving this scene is priority number 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so you've got snipers, mortars, hidden bombs, and in the middle of all that chaos, the WIT member has a very specific, very precise job to do. This is where we get to the core of their mission, carefully and methodically decoding the bomb itself. At the heart of that job is one thing: photography. It is the absolute foundation of everything they do. Why? Because you might not have time for notes, you might not be able to bring evidence back, but the photos tell the entire story without you ever having to say a word. And we're not talking about just taking random snapshots here. This is methodical. They use a standard law enforcement process. First, you take overall photos to capture the whole scene, to give it context. Then you move in for medium-range shots to show how different pieces of the puzzle relate to each other. And finally, you get right up on the evidence with close-up photos to document every wire, every switch, every detail. And this slide is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. On the left, you've got the medium shot, a modified cordless phone base used as a trigger. But look at the right. That's the macro shot. It shows the very specific way that yellow wire is connected to that 9-volt battery. See, that little detail, that specific technique, could be a bomb maker's signature. It's like a fingerprint that can connect this one bomb to dozens of others. So, documenting the bomb is one piece of the puzzle. The next piece is actually understanding it. WIT members had to be absolute experts on the enemy's arsenal, which was changing and adapting all the time. Generally, the IEDs fell into these 5 main categories. You had your command wire and your victim-operated devices, which were simpler. Then you had more sophisticated remote-controlled devices. And of course, the most devastating ones, massive vehicle-borne IEDs and suicide bombers. Each one told a different story and left behind different clues. First up, you've got your command wire IED, or CWIED. Simple, reliable, you've got a physical wire running from the trigger to the bomb. The big weakness here? The bad guy has to stay close to the wire, which puts him at risk of getting caught. Then you have the victim-operated IEDs, or VOIDs. These are triggered by the victim, usually by stepping on a pressure plate like this one. They're absolutely terrifying because they just lie in wait, and they're completely indiscriminate. As the source material points out, they've tragically killed countless civilians, including children. All right, then we have the remote-controlled IEDs, or RCIEDs. These were really popular because they let the enemy attack from a safe distance, often using everyday things like these modified cell phones. And for the WIT team, every detail matters. The model of the phone, the way it was wired, that's another breadcrumb, another clue leading back to the source. Okay, so you have all this incredible risk, all this painstaking, detailed work. It all boils down to one simple question. So what? What's the payoff? I mean, how does one bomb, one scene, one tiny piece of wire help stop a war? And the answer is, well, by itself, it doesn't. But that one scene, that one piece of evidence, becomes a single dot on a huge map. And when you connect it with hundreds of other dots from hundreds of other scenes, suddenly a pattern emerges from all the noise. All of a sudden, a unique soldering technique in Ramadi connects to a known bomb maker in Fallujah. A specific brand of battery links an entire enemy cell together. That's how you go from just surviving the blast to dismantling the factory. That's how you defeat not just the device, but the entire network. And that is the real hard-won legacy of the weapons intelligence team.